Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the webinar How Retailers Are Using Loyalty Programs to Increase Per Customer Revenue by 2.4x. My name is Subhajit and I'm the Head of Business Development at InSync. InSync is committed to offering our clients, our partners, prospects, some innovative strategies to grow their revenues. So for today's webinar, I'm joined with ZINRELO, who will discuss how retailers are employing loyalty strategies to increase their per customer revenue. I'd like to welcome our speaker for the day, Samir, who is Vice President of Customer Success at ZINRELO. Samir is a serial entrepreneur who has completed 4 successful startups prior to ZINRELO, and he has over 25 years of industry experience, has been awarded 5 technology patents, and has written 2 technical books. So welcome, Samir. I'll be moderating the questions for this webinar today. If you have any questions at any point in the webinar, please type the question in the questions pane, which you will see in the GoToWebinar control panel, and I will ask those questions. I will introduce those questions to Samir at the appropriate interval. There will also be a Q&A at the end. So at this point of time, I would like to turn it over to Samir to proceed with the webinar. Samir, over to you.
Thank you, Subhajit. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. As Subhajit mentioned, Subhajit.
Yeah, Samir. We lost you for. Yeah, we lost you for a moment. Yeah, please start from the beginning.
Yes. So thank you, Subhajit. Again, what we will go through today in the program is really a bunch of topics that are very, very important to every retailer and more from the perspective of growing revenues. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them in your questions window and we will try to get them answered as quickly as possible. So today what we're going to discuss is first, why even loyalty programs? Why should we be talking about it? Why should we be thinking about it? That's the first. Second is what constitutes a good loyalty program, and then we will take you through case studies which will effectively talk about how people have implemented a good loyalty program and a little bit more on some case study briefs. So that's basically what we're going to do, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A. So let's get started. So why loyalty programs? Let's take a look. Today, most businesses are focused only on new customer acquisition. But what is happening is loyalty is becoming the #1 revenue driver for most businesses. And let's see why. Examples are 46% of Macy's revenues are coming from a mere 9% local customers. That is how powerful a loyalty program is for them. In fact, in the third quarter of 2017, during their earnings call, Macy's publicly stated that loyalty programs were the reason why they did so well in the third quarter of 2017. Similarly, Ulta Beauty, which is a national beauty retailer in the US, 90% of their revenues are coming from loyalty program members. That is how powerful loyalty programs are. So if let's say a client does not have a loyalty program, then what happens? What happens is that it's like a leaky bucket. Let's see why. Acquiring customers is extremely hard and expensive. So you should be doing everything you can to hang on to your existing customer base, everything possible. If you do not, then new customers will come in through the top and leak out through the bottom. If you have a good loyalty retention program in place, your revenue bucket will fill up really, really quickly. And if you don't have a good loyalty program in place, it is going to it is going to affect every single business metric: your revenues, your customer acquisition costs, LTV, conversion rates, and engagement. And the interesting part is, in spite of knowing this, 86% of the retailers do not have a loyalty program, and that is frustrating, and at the same time represents a huge opportunity for increasing revenues. So that's basically what the loyalty programs are all about. And if we go on to the next slide, so let's talk about that. If we go on to the next slide, so what constitutes a good loyalty program? Let's take a look at that. The first thing that every loyalty program should do is it should have 360-degree engagement. So this is the new paradigm of continuous user engagement. It is not enough to engage customers only from one purchase to another. It is very, very important that they be engaged through various activities such as referrals, email subscriptions, social media activity, writing reviews, giving them points on their birthday, and so on. And this is more in line with the way new customers are engaging, where they're constantly engaged on different forms of media. And any brand or business should be looking at employing all those opportunities to engage with customers. And that is really, really important. So that is the first. The second is you should be really rewarding your customers for multiple activities. So for example, Zappos, which is an Amazon subsidiary, is giving 10 points for every dollar spent, which is what a lot of the customers or a lot of the retailers do for their customers. But they're also giving 50 points every time you log in to either their website or their mobile app and so on. And that is very, very important. Similarly, if you write a product review, you can earn points. And imagine just for logging in, they're so confident that they will make a conversion, they just want to give you points for logging in. And that's how you get people or your users coming back to the website again and again. And that's how you get engagement, and as a result, purchases and more dollars being spent on every purchase. So that's really what it's all about. And again, Zappos is actually an Amazon subsidiary. So if you want to beat Amazon at its own game, use the loyalty program and make sure that once you get a customer, you hang on to that customer.
Samir, sorry to interrupt, but we got a question. So
Yeah.
I guess it would be a good time to ask. We have received a question from John. If a loyalty program is so important, when should a business implement a loyalty program?
Okay. So I guess to fill your revenue bucket, a loyalty program is so important that ideally you should have a loyalty program in place, implemented even before you acquire your first customer. However, most businesses are so intent on getting new customers and showing rapid growth to either their investors or to people who are really stakeholders. They're doing very little to grow profitability by retaining and leveraging existing customers. So the ideal time to do it really is even before you acquire your first customer. So John, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Shubhajit, for letting me know. So this is about multiple award activities. Let's now go on to another example, which is Jelly Belly. And again, this is a classic example of 360-degree engagement, where every time somebody earns $1, they actually earn points, 10 points. But Jelly Belly is also giving away points for sharing on social media, just creating an account, referring a friend, writing a review, or subscribing to the mailing list. So imagine Jelly Belly is getting the customer engaged in a variety of different activities where they're coming back again and again, and that is an opportunity to sell to the customer. That's how you increase repeat purchase frequency, and that's how you increase the number of dollars being spent on every purchase. So that's 360-degree engagement. Those are some examples. The next thing which really helps a good loyalty program is a fantastic explainer page. And many of you who are attending might be members of some airline mile program. So United has a very good program, and it clearly explains how you earn miles and how you spend miles, how you use those award miles. So it should be very clear and yet very concise. It should be attractive enough. And though United is not a classic retailer example, it is an example of how a good explainer page should be. And you can relate to it because most of you might be a part of a frequent flyer program. So this is a great explainer page that you can use. And here is another example of a great explainer page with the Macy's Rewards program called Plenty. An explainer page should ideally have three components. How will the user earn points, which is points earning opportunities? What can the users do with those points? And how does the user redeem points and get those rewards? I think those are the key things that a good explainer page should talk about. So let's go to the next slide, which is another component of the loyalty program is a good set of membership tiers. So again, for people who fly United, they must be familiar with the silver, gold, platinum, and tiers like that, and 1K. But membership tiers add gamification. What they do is they modify customer behavior, and it gets the customers to do what you want them to do. It is also a great way to differentiate between the low, medium, and high spenders. Though this is not a classic retail example, and again, an airline example, it is something you can relate to. And that's the reason why I thought that it was a great idea to include here. You can do the same for your customers. Get your existing customers to spend more and spend more often. Get them to get to the next tier by spending that extra few dollars to get to the next tier so that they can earn those benefits. And that is really how you get people coming back and spending more on each visit. So that is a very, very key component of the loyalty program.
Samir, we have received another question from Andy, basically two questions. Okay. I think on about this tiers. So what is the best strategy to define tiers? That's the first question. And second question is, how does one decide the benefits for each tier?
Got it. So Andy, good question. So let me handle the first question first. The best strategy to define tiers typically is to start with some spending level targets. For example, you could say that people who spend up to $500 are in the bronze tier, who spend $2,000, anything above $500 are in the gold tier, and anything about $2,000 are in the platinum tier. So these numbers will typically vary based on the average order value and frequency of purchases, so that kind of depends. So let me handle the second question now. So typically the starting point can simply be setting up what you want the spending targets to be. And then what you do is you can then decide the benefits for the tier, where what will make those customers spend those extra dollars to get to that tier and earn those benefits. What will make it attractive enough? So typically benefits that have a high perceived value but low cost should be included. And this is usually a longer discussion, but these are some basic guidelines. So Andy, I hope this answers your question. Right, so let's get to the next one. Next slide. When you set up these membership levels, it's very, very important to have attractive membership benefits. Because if they're not attractive enough, people are not going to try hard. They'll just say, this is not interesting enough. I'm not going to try hard to get to that tier. So the basic idea is that For example, on Starbucks, members earn stars, and high spenders really get special status. They show exclusivity, but they also earn more. So again, attractive benefits combined with exclusive tiers are a great way to boost your customer spending. And that is how you really get the members to, again, spend more and spend more often. So let's go to the next slide. Another component which is very, very important in loyalty programs, especially when you look at very large scale programs like that are implemented, the same loyalty program needs to work across the website, the physical stores, and the mobile app. And that is very, very important, because if it doesn't, then what it does is then it has a fragmented set of programs and the user does not get an integrated experience. So it is particularly important to make sure that it's an integrated program across all possible channels of interaction with the customer. So at this point of time, let's take a look at the case study. Let's take a look at the case study. This is actually a company called Predator Nutrition. They're based in the UK, and they sell nutrition supplements. They're one of the largest providers of supplements in the UK. We do have a lot of other US companies, but we decided to pick this one because they have done some really cool things. So a little bit about them. They're a leading sports nutrition company, exclusive distributors to leading brands. So that's what they do. And the way they have really implemented the program is they're basically creating 360-degree engagement. And what they saw from the program was they gave the ability to reward users for any desirable interaction, including social media. So they're recommending a friend, using social media, many other ways of doing it. And what they saw is that they saw the lifetime value of each customer go up by more than 5 times. That's what they saw. They saw a significant increase in both reviews as well as word of mouth referrals. And they saw the amount of engagement on social media grow by almost 3 times. So net, what they saw was a increase in customer retention and a boost in the repeat purchase frequency. So this was very important, and this is what they were able to achieve by creating a 360-degree program. So let's take a look at some of the strategies that they adopted. So first thing they did was they set the ability to kind of give custom points for friend referrals, and successful referrals were tracked automatically, and the members were notified in both real time and via email about points earned. The interesting part is they converted referrals into sales at an impressive 25% rate, which means when a referral came in, it converted to a sale at a 25% rate. So 1 in 4 people actually converted, and that's huge. So that was one. The next one was that purchases are actually tracked automatically. So every time a purchase is made, appropriate loyalty points are automatically awarded to the user. And members can earn loyalty points and for just writing reviews. And the reason why the reviews help, because with every review, the conversion rate goes up. And because of this, what they saw that on an average, people spent 33% more when they redeem their points. And that was interesting because they were either trying to earn more points, get to the next tier, or what have you, and as a result, they ended up spending more. So that were a few techniques. Some other techniques: when somebody signed up, they would get a pop-up saying, "We'll give you a free sample, plus we'll give you 500 points on your first order." And what it did is daily enrollments of loyalty members shot up by 9.5%. And then finally, points were also awarded for actions such as Twitter, Instagram, birthday bonus, and so on. And what this did was suddenly there was a lot more engagement, and there was 70% increase in the repeat purchase frequency of loyalty members. And that was incredible. I mean, we could pump up the referral rate or the repeat purchase rate by as much as 70%. And that was very, very attractive. And this is what they did in terms of the customer dashboard. They created a really attractive brand-friendly dashboard, which is completely integrated with their website, completely seamless. Users can view point history, redeem points, find ways to earn points, and do more things like that in the dashboard. So that's what they were able to do. And the redemption options, again, users can redeem points through the dashboard. So for example, they can get products for points, they can exchange that, they can get coupons. So all these things combined, what they found that their daily redemptions increased by 73% within a quarter. And this was huge because that every redemption meant people were engaging, they were buying more stuff, they were using the coupon to create more purchases. And this had a massive impact on their revenue. And they saw a real increase in revenue because of the loyalty program. The loyalty tiers, what they did was, normally people do about 3, they did 6 loyalty tiers. And they really customized it, honed it to perfection. They set up auto upgrades, downgrades within a period. They create customizable tiers, and notice that they actually give a higher multiplier as the person goes to the higher tier, which means that as you earn points to go to the next tier, you start earning even more points, and so on. So it has a multiplier effect. And that made a big difference. Again, people were fighting really hard to get to the higher tiers so that they can earn more points, get free products, and so on. And that made a huge, huge difference. So the results achieved were awesome. Thousands of loyalty members signed up, 70% more repeat purchases from loyal customers, 33% higher average order value, 25% more sales conversion rate, and a 73% increase in daily redemptions, and a 9.5% jump in daily enrollments. So it was an extremely successful program. Phil Slater, the head of marketing, has now become a personal friend, and he calls up if he needs advice on what to do with growth. Let's take a look at a couple more quick case studies. There is the EVAN-MOOR loyalty program. So again, this is an educational publisher. They actually saw a 108% increase in per customer revenue, and that's huge. So they saw a 53% increase in average order value and a 37% increase in repeat purchase frequency. So again, this is what typically happens. Another one is FSA, where they have this is called a flexible spending account website. So if you have a flexible spending account and you have some dollars left, you can spend it here for specific products. And they created, again, a 360-degree program. They saw a 74% increase in per customer revenue and a 64% increase in repeat purchase frequency. So again, very, very successful program. They loved it. And they're definitely using this and enhancing it as they go. So that's the FSA Perks program. Moving on
Samir,
to the
Samir, sorry to interrupt. We got another question, so I believe it would be good to answer. Okay. So with this question we have received from Melanie.
Okay.
Her question is: you showed us some case studies, but what are the average benefit numbers that I should expect to see if I implement a loyalty program?
Okay, good question. So you're absolutely right. The numbers will actually vary based on the category of your product. But on an average, you would see up to an 80% increase in repeat purchase frequency. And it's simply the number of points of engagement that you create. You would see that. On every purchase, people actually end up spending about 33% more. So on the whole, for loyalty members, you're seeing as much as a 2.4 times increase in revenue. And this often translates to about 30% of your total revenue. I mean, imagine we can increase your revenue by up to 30% total. That's the kind of impact a loyalty program can make. So that's really what the ZINRELO solution does. It basically really gets loyal customers to spend more and spend more often. The repeat sales frequency goes up, revenue per customer goes up, and it also comes with a built-in referral program because people are 7 times more likely to buy when they are referred by a friend. So it actually gets about 25% more customers. So that's what it's able to do. So that's, I hope, Melanie, that answers your question. And again, this program is fully customizable, fully brandable. It fits seamlessly with your website or your store or your mobile app. People won't even know that ZINRELO is there. So that's typically how it works. So I guess at this point of time, time for some Q&A. Any questions? Feel free to type it in. And
we got a question from Jovan, so I'd like to mention that. Are point systems only way to do the gamification of loyalty programs? This is the first question. Second question is, does point systems have negative connotation with the users?
Okay. So let me answer both questions. Firstly, the point system is oftentimes, in fact, the best way to actually run loyalty programs. However, a lot of retailers will actually use different names for the points. So instead of calling them points, they could call them coins, stars, bucks, what have you, and that a name that is more in keeping with the brand, and that is very important. So that's the answer to the first question. But yes, the point systems are good because imagine this: people are actually gaining karma on your website. How do you define that karma? The way you define the karma, you're basically assigning weightage to various activities that they do on your site, whether it be purchases, whether it be sharing, whether it be writing reviews. And then you're combining all the karma together and let them redeem the karma for maybe a product, maybe a coupon, maybe cashback, whatever that might be. And that's why points are great, because that way you're really letting them accumulate karma. That's answer to question number 1. Number 2, do points have a negative connotation? So the answer to the question is that, in fact, most retailers are doing discounts that has a terribly negative connotation. When you're doing discounts, you're basically fighting over whether it's 20% or 25%, and there is no loyalty from the customer. You will get a lot of what we call one and done customers. They will come in and they will simply take the discount and go away. In fact, points are seen as a very positive way by which you can engage customers, really have them and position it in a way where it's a thank you for karma that you have done on the site, and that actually has a very positive connection compared to discount. The other thing that points do is that they create a hook for the next purchase. So unlike discounts, which basically say, just buy now and we will never hear from you again, points get them invested in the brand or the company so that they're much more likely to come back the next time and make a purchase. So long answer to a question, but I hope that answers the question.
Yep, Samir, we got another question from Andy.
Okay.
How much time will it take to implement a loyalty program?
So if it's a website, it typically takes about 2 weeks to implement a program. It can actually be done sooner if you're using a pre-integrated cart like Shopify or Magento, BigCommerce, PrestaShop. We work with many, many different e-commerce carts. If you have physical stores, it typically takes about an additional 2 weeks to implement, where you just have to create a file format that conforms and make sure that the upload is happening correctly and so on. But it's usually 2 weeks to implement on the website and an extra 2 weeks to implement on the physical store.
We
So
received, we received another question from Dave. The
okay.
question is the implementation time of loyalty programs varies with the shopping cart?
Okay.
I think the question is, if I use Magento, will the implementation time, and if I use Shopify, will the time varies? Depends on
Actually not. Yeah, actually not, because the implementation on these e-commerce cart takes less than half a day. That's the easy part. Typically, the part where it takes a little more time is what we call the program design. And what ZINRELO will help you with is it will actually help you with what program you should design, how should you design the tiers, how many points you should allocate for each activity. And that is the thing that takes about a week, week and a half to discuss. But otherwise, Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, all of them can usually be implemented in about half a day. The other part which takes time is customizations, where companies like InSync can actually, our partners can help you, and they can really help customize. They can help you integrate with different types of systems like ERPs or your email service providers and so on. But that's usually a second phase. But the actual implementation is in two parts. One, as I said, the design, and the other is the coding. The coding or the cartridge installation is very, very straightforward. So,
So, no pending questions I can see, but I'd like to request all the attendees to ask questions using the question pane. In the meantime, Samir, it would be good if you can just show us a recap and just a brief, because there are some attendees who joined around 15-20 minutes later.
okay. So let me just go back
if you
to the
focus
prior
on the
slide.
important slides.
Yeah, so let me just actually focus on the slide that one slide that kind of summarizes it well. One, as I said, ZINRELO can create with InSync's help a fully brandable, fully customizable loyalty rewards program for you. And the basic idea is that loyal customers, so when you get a new customer, don't let the customers just make a purchase or no purchase and then vanish. Hang on to that customer with everything you have got, and make sure you're doing everything to retain that customer. And loyal customers are worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. So they're extremely profitable because they make more purchases for the amount of marketing dollars you spend to acquire them. The ROI is huge. The second thing that a loyalty program does is it keeps the customers coming back. And by creating a 360-degree engagement strategy, you keep them coming back again and again and again, and that increases the repeat sales frequency by as much as 80%. And by creating gamification like tiers and so on, you're getting them to spend more on every visit. And that's what increases the average order value by 33%. As a result, the revenue per customer can go up by as much as 2.4 times, and overall impact on your revenues can be as much as 30% of your revenues. That's the kind of impact we are able to make. Plus, again, if you can convert your existing customers into brand ambassadors, that's also extremely powerful. And our program comes with a built-in referral mechanism where you're really leveraging the existing customers to become your brand ambassadors. And that again is very powerful because it can give you as much as 25% new customers. So that's a quick recap of what a loyalty program can do to your business. And again, InSync has recognized that this is a great way to grow revenues, and we are working together to make it happen.
Great. Thanks, Abhi. So I have received another question from Dave that are you
Okay.
compatible only with e-commerce or with CRM systems as well?
So the answer to the question is no, it is actually very, very compatible with CRM systems. In fact, with CRMs, with email service providers and so on. We actually are what we call an API first program, which means that it was built using an extensive set of APIs, and it allows you to integrate with email service providers, with CRMs, with a variety of different systems. And as a result, we have API, we have batch mode, we have various ways of connecting these systems together. And that way, the loyalty program can coexist extremely well in a complex environment of different pieces of solutions. So that's, I hope, Dave, that answers the question.
I believe there are no more pending questions. So we can start to wrap up the session for today.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and back to you, Shubhajit.
Another question just received from Yovan. Should we advertise our loyalty program aggressively or leave to a customer to discover it?
So actually, what we have found is that initially it has to be promoted very aggressively. And in fact, when you engage, our customer success specialist will also tell you how to promote the loyalty program. And initially, you get as many members on board as possible because the success of the loyalty program and the dollar impact it can make to your business is directly proportional to the number of members that enroll. So you should be as aggressive as possible, promote it, and we will, again, as I said, our customer success specialists will guide you to do that. But once people get the hang of it, they actually understand, and the program will keep them coming back. And that's how you really leverage the loyalty program to increase your revenues.
Great. So there are no questions. So we would like to wrap up for today. I hope every attendee enjoyed the session. We have recorded the session and we have the presentation as well. So once the webinar is over, so very soon, within a couple of days, we will send you the video recording, video link, as well as the presentation through an email, so that you can check that. Also, you can share that with your colleagues, with your team members, so that they can also view the session and get the knowledge out of it. So I'd like to thank ZINRELO and specifically Sameer, ZINRELO team as well, because ZINRELO team members supported to plan and host the webinar, and would like to thank Sameer for this excellent presentation and explanation, as well as patiently answering all the questions, because I've interrupted him multiple times, but still he answered all the questions. So Sameer, if you'd like to say anything, and then we can wrap up.
Thank you very much for attending. It was our pleasure, and we look forward to serving InSync customers and really helping them grow their business.
Yep. Thanks, Sameer, and I'd like to thank all the attendees as well. So see you next time with another webinar very soon. And if if we think that we can do another session on loyalty program, then definitely we'll be planning that as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day ahead, and good night to the APAC region attendees.